I'll be back here. Just right here holding Binksy. You're okay, baby.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Morning, Mr. Whiffen.
Good morning.
And welcome back.
Thank you.
You should have just not come back, sir, honestly. What?
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, go sleep, baby. Mama's got you.
Thank you.
Mr. Whiffen, I just handed you, which is in evidence as Exhibit 43, and this is a portion of your March 2025 report. If you could just take a moment to look at it, and when you've had a fair opportunity to do that, I'd ask you to turn to page 28.
No, what? No, because the cell break
And
guy's
just, if
back.
you could, sir, just pick up your head and let me know when you're ready to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Go sleep, baby. Go sleep. What are you trying to? How do you want to lay? Okay, Mama will lay you this way. It's okay, baby. He hates this cone. I hate to burst your guys' bubble, but he's gonna be here for a while. He's still there right now, live. So we've got our work cut out for us. We should be able to fast forward through the lunch break, though. He's already taking his sweet time.
Thank you.
You ready, Mr. Whiffen?
I am.
Thank you. So, what I'd like to do
It's
is
just
to,
work,
with your Honor's permission, is to publish pages 28, 29, and 30, and start with page 28.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Wolf? And if you could enlarge the text down below as much as you can so the jury can
Mods,
see
I'm
it.
counting on you guys for the chat. I can't touch the screen.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. So, Mr. Whiffen, this summary section of your report is a summary of the location section that you wrote in your March 2025 report, correct?
That's correct.
And it states the location data on this device contains a vast number of records while traveling between 12/19/33 and 12/24/38. These records all have a high horizontal accuracy value as well as bearing and speed information which conforms to the streets being traveled. Next paragraph. The device arrived outside 34 Fairview at 12/24/38 where it remained static for about 30 seconds. Do you see that, sir?
I do, yes.
And did I read that correctly?
You did.
Did I read that correctly?
Sorry, yes, you did.
Yeah, so at the end of it says, show the device moving west from the roadside towards the house. That's what you wrote, correct?
Correct.
It's okay.
I would like you to, Mr. Wilk, if we could switch back to the timeline of Mr. Whiffen that we
You
had
see your
published
family?
yesterday
Hi,
in
guys.
deck 79.
Auntie Connie sent you a heart.
Mr. Whiffen, if you
It says
could
mail
please,
thanks.
we just read that portion of your report that says at 25:30 the device bearing shifts to a westerly direction as location records also show the device moving west from the roadside towards the house. Did you put that in your timeline?
I did not.
It's kind of important information, isn't it?
I believe with the declining accuracy, the value that those records provided was more limited.
But it was important enough for you to write it in your report, but you didn't put it in the timeline, correct?
Correct.
Is this the defense question?
Now,
again?
if you could continue on your report, page 29, Mr. Wolk, if we could put, and we're going to be flipping back and forth between the timeline in your report.
Okay.
If we could go to page 29, enlarge it, the text, so the jury is able
No,
to
baby,
read
that's
it
okay. Come on.
along with us. We're going to start from the top. So, the next says, from the combination of device location and bearing, it does appear that the device started to move towards the house. However, since the bearing information appears to be based on the location records rather than the direction the device is facing, it is difficult to say with any degree of certainty if the device actually moved. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
So the first part is again a statement that
I
the
can't
device has started to move toward the house. Now, if we could go to the next paragraph. This location data is immediately
I'm thinking.
followed by 12 minutes of low accuracy records which offer no reliable location information. So I just want to make sure I've got the time period here right. The 12 minutes is from 12:25, correct?
Yes.
And so
Thinks is so
12:25
miserable.
plus 12 is 12:37. So the range we're talking about here is from 12:25 through
Me too.
12:37, correct?
Correct.
Then, if we could go to Mr.
Hello,
Wolf, please,
Jeremiah.
back to the timeline, slide 82.
No, baby, it's okay. Yeah, this is definitely the defense. I can see him now.
So, I want to discuss with you the very top entry, Health 123156, where you have the entry, start of health event, 36 steps, 25 meters, and yesterday we agreed 25 meters is approximately 84 feet, correct?
Correct.
And
Jess, I said the same thing yesterday. With prejudice. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. And this is not a case that we've done research on. When we do things as the jury, we forbid ourselves from looking into it. But I have 5 pages of notes from day one alone. And then we had at least 3 witnesses that were caught perjuring themselves. Yeah, we're right there with you.
that is what you have in the timeline. Let's understand
No.
what that
It's on YouTube if you want to go watch it and catch up. Or do you want me to give you the short version? It was a whole lot of sitting here listening to prosecution drag on question after question that we didn't know what the hell they were talking about because it was from the Cellbrite expert, and now we're just getting to hear the defense. Honestly, it was a bunch of BS. That's what it was. But I have a feeling that we've got a big one coming. So I think the defense is gonna make today their day.
at that time period, 1231.
If I miss you guys' comments, just put a star next to them if I miss them. If you type again, because I got Binks I'm holding Binks with his cone on. Good morning, Rebecca. How are you? So I have to lean back because it's wherever he feels comfortable enough to set his head down. And my baby's first, so.
56. Do you recall writing in a March 2025 report that the device began moving for a period of 20 seconds?
Related to the location data?
He got
believe.
fixed.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, if we could, Mr. Wolk, go back to page 29 of the report.
He got snipped.
So what I want to do is go back to that paragraph up at the top from the combination of the device. From the combination of device location and bearing, it does appear that the device started to move toward the house. However, since the bearing information appears based on the location records rather than the direction the device is facing, it is difficult to say with any degree of certainty if the device actually moved. So you're talking.
My cat, my baby here, he likes to lay on my pillow with me. It's our pillow. And he likes to press his face to my face. And it's driving him crazy that he can't press his face to my face. I don't have comment filtering on. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me see if someone added keywords that were the wrong ones. 1 second. Filter comments is off. Okay, but that's how it was set. I'm switching the mute to 5 minutes instead of the whole live. Let me just check. Comment settings. Blocked keywords. Okay, I took off the keywords that might have been doing it. I'm not sure if that was what's doing them, but there's only the keywords on there that need to remain.
Talking about difficulty saying with certainty, correct?
Correct.
But it is certainly possible that the device was at that location and was moving toward the house. That's possible, correct?
Based on location data, yes.
Binksy has his own little bassinet that he got from his godmother, Samantha. And he has a playpen that he got from his Aunt Allison. And even Aunt Sandra sent him some goodies. He's a spoiled boy, that's for sure.
Now what I'd like to do, please, is to go stay on that report. And the third paragraph says, the reason for such low accuracy location data at this time is not known, as there are many possible reasons why the accuracy was be reduced. There's a little grammar issue there, but
correct.
In fairness to you, sir,
welcome to the team.
We do that when we write long reports. But I think that your intention here is, why the accuracy is reduced at this point, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. This could include reasons such as the device entered a building covered area, the result of weather conditions, geography, poor connectivity, or interference, to name a few. So those are the reasons you gave, which could contribute to some low accuracy, correct?
Correct.
And interesting, the very first reason you gave is that the device could be entering a building or covered area. And that phraseology could include a house, correct?
Correct.
It could include a garage attached to the house, correct?
Correct.
And it could include the house at 34 Fairview, and it could include the garage attached to the house at 34 Fairview.
Happy birthday, little nephew.
Because both of those are buildings or covered areas, correct?
Correct.
I found a Binksy appropriate gift, except it's different because he's black and the cat's white, but it's still the same thing.
Then you go on in the next paragraph to say it is known that the device was not being used at this time. It is this time that include that 12:37, 12-minute range, 12:25 to 12:37.
Yes, it was not being used for location purposes.
So that's another reason why, right, the accuracy could be a little bit on the lower side.
Correct.
Now, the next paragraph says, at 12:38:13, when the device begins recording higher, and that's relative to what it was recording before. It's not that it's high, but it's higher than what it was just moments before.
Correct.
The data centers on a location slightly closer to the house than the roadside. Although several records show the same center coordinate with differing accuracy radii. Some of these location records are shown in the map below in white. So let's go down and look at what you had in your report for the area in white. In the area in white that you're referring to, there are two white circles, the largest one there. This, in fact, was a depiction that you included in your report on page 29, correct?
Correct.
Interesting and notable, you did not include that depiction in your timeline that you discussed with the jury yesterday, did you?
I did not know.
But it was important enough for you to put that depiction in your report, correct?
Correct.
And notably, the larger white circle covers a substantial amount of the house at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
So, given your testimony on direct yesterday with Attorney Brennan, the phone of John O'Keefe, according to this depiction, could be anywhere within the largest white circle, correct?
Correct.
And this depiction was not offered by you or the Commonwealth in your presentation to the jury yesterday, correct?
Correct. Not in PowerPoint.
Now,
Why?
if we could go back, Mr. Wolk, to page 29 of your report, into the text, and if we can enlarge the text just a little bit, please, for the jury, Mr. Wolk. So, the paragraph that begins with at 12:38:13, when the
Ian Whiffen, he's the Cellbrite expert.
device begins recording higher accuracy information. Again, the data centers on a location slightly closer to the house than the roadside, although several records show the same center coordinate with differing accuracy radii. Some of these location records are shown on the map in white below. And I repeated that just to to connect this part of the text to that diagram with a big white circle. Have I done that correctly?
Yes, correct.
Thank you, sir. The next paragraph. Over the next few hours, the GPS coordinate and the associated accuracy radius jumps around numerous times between the house and the road. Did I read that correctly?
Correct.
And therefore,
Okay, I can't stop from asking this. Does anybody know what Karen Reed did for a living? If you don't look it up.
over the next few
I'm just
hours,
curious.
according to your report, the phone of John O'Keefe could be in the house, correct?
based on the low accuracy information, yes.
Thank you, Holly.
The answer is yes.
I thought it was something like that or law. I wasn't sure which.
The next paragraph.
Well, let me turn light on.
We'll
There.
stop there for a moment, and I would like to, Mr. Wolf, go down, scroll please, to that diagram that's...
Since we're serving as a virtual jury, we'll ignore the last comment that I made. Anyways, I know virtual jurors are not supposed to know, but I had to know.
Right below that text again.
I can't look it up because I'm holding Binks. And he's falling asleep.
Yesterday, you discussed the Waze application with Ms. Attorney Brennan, correct?
Correct.
And you stated that Waze location data is more accurate than the data that comes from the Apple apps
I
like
don't know what
Health
you're
Data
talking
and
about.
Location, correct?
Incorrect.
Holly, I have no idea what you're talking about. You've not committed any discretion. What's that? My brain just flatlined. You didn't cheat. I don't know what nobody would say that. No reason to think that. You're on the jury still.
No.
I'm sorry. Is Waze location data, in your view, accurate location data?
There isn't really a thing such as Waze location data.
I'm having trouble hearing.
Waze location data doesn't really exist. Waze is requesting
Right.
location data from location services, and location services would respond with high accuracy information.
Okay, I appreciate that correction.
Thanks
So-
for that, Alyssa.
When someone is using a Waze application, is the information they get through that Waze app accurate?
It tries to be accurate, yes.
And as a general matter, is the Waze application more accurate than the Apple information regarding location?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing because it's coming essentially from the same source, correct?
Yes, Apple provides that information to Waze.
Right. So you had testified yesterday that at a certain point, the Waze application ceased functioning, correct?
Correct.
But just because it ceased functioning, the Apple applications were still taking effect, and that's why you could make this depiction on this item that is on the screen now, correct?
Correct.
If we could, Mr. Wolf, go to page 30. And what I'd like to highlight, please, is the text. So if we can enlarge it up at the top.
I have to point something out to you guys. I've been trying not to, but I have to. On the bottom of the screen is an advertisement for Morgan & Morgan, and it's scrolling across talking about if you've had a serious accident or know someone that's been in an accident. I don't think that's necessarily the most appropriate thing to put on the bottom of this case. Just my opinion.
So you then state, while location data from this data source, Cache SQLite, is usually able to identify the location of the device with a high degree of accuracy and reliability, these records are so close that making a distinction between the device's actual location on the front garden is impossible, correct?
Correct.
Your words, impossible.
Correct.
Did you provide any of the information in that paragraph in your timeline or to the jury in your direct testimony yesterday?
Not in the PowerPoint, no.
Next paragraph. If the location records are limited to just the records between 0025, which is 12:25, and 6 a.m. and with an accuracy radius of 10 meters or less, there are 46 records, all of which fall within the red circle shown below. Go ahead, Mr. Wolk, if you could scroll down. And that is the only depiction there that you included in your timeline yesterday, correct?
Correct.
So you took one of two depictions in your summary of the location, this one, in terms of your timeline presentation, correct?
Correct.
Now, in terms of the timeline, and Mr. Wolk, if we could go back to the previous with the other depiction. It's on page 29. If we could enlarge that depiction, please. So, you testified that the flagpole and the fire hydrant are more down toward the small black circle. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Amber, I wish I knew. I'm wondering that myself.
And yesterday, you rendered an opinion that you believed that the phone was mostly in the location by the flagpole and the fire hydrant, correct?
Objection.
But this is
I'm
the
gonna see
defense
Counselor
that's
Tybach come in, please.
this is defense that's questioning, so at least if it had a chance to be interesting whatsoever, it'll be interesting with the defense, not the prosecution. He had us sit here, well, he went on for this about hours yesterday. He sure is. Now let me ask you guys. Now we're doing this as the virtual jury, so no spoilers here, but we can share our opinions. Does anybody think that there was somebody that might have been interested in or in some kind of relationship with Mr. O'Keefe? I can't do a poll right now because I'm holding my kitty who just had surgery and I'm not moving. Hi, Kath. How are you? I'm back here with Binks. He had surgery. He's got a cone on his head. So does anybody think that there was a female in that friend group that was with John or wanted John and Karen possibly was in the way?
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just telling you the thoughts in my head.
If we could dim the lights again, please.
No, you do, baby.
Thank you.
It's okay.
So, if we can enlarge that depiction.
Thank you, ladies.
So,
Okay.
yesterday, Mr. Whiffen, you focused your testimony and your opinions on the smaller black circle, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't discuss at all or disclose at all this depiction, and therefore didn't discuss or disclose at all the larger
Thank you
white
for the
circle,
follow,
correct?
Amber.
Uh,
I know you don't want it off, baby. I'm sorry.
not when discussing my overall opinion.
I know
Right.
you don't want it
Yeah.
off.
So the answer is
Is no.
I'm
right.
sorry.
So the fair way to interpret, and this is what you put in your report, this is your depiction, is that, and based upon what you said yesterday, the phone could be at the very edge of the top of the circle, correct?
Correct.
Auntie
And the
Gwen
phone
sent
could
you a
also
kitty. Look.
be at any point, so you can,
Thank you, Gwen.
in theory, put a phone anywhere around the very edges of
I think
that
he actually saw
entire
that one.
circle, correct?
There's caveats to that, but yes.
Well, I'm just
Thank you
asking
so much.
that according to your testimony yesterday in this depiction, the phone could be anywhere
Mine
in
too,
that
Holly.
location
Yes.
within the area of that white circle.
Correct.
It's okay. It's just Daddy.
I would like to now go back to the timeline, Mr. Wolf,
He's restless.
where we had left off, which is slide 82.
Come here, baby. Come here, dear. No, me too.
Honestly, the person that I felt that with was Carrie. But I've been wondering since if Jen, because I haven't seen Jen. No, it does, Holly. 100% it does. I'm right there with you. But while I'm right here and I'm with you guys, I'm going to turn the camera away because I'm going to eat while we're here. Because I'm back on Binksy duty in a few minutes. Thank you so much, Renee. My face won't be here, but I'm really here.
And at the very top entry, you have health, time 31:56. And then the description, start of health event, 36 steps, 25 meters, and we agreed about 84 feet. And this is where the device began moving toward the house for a period of 20 seconds. Is that correct?
Is the time that 36 steps started to be recorded? I've got no idea of the direction of travel.
I want to focus on the time, 12:31:56. Are you aware that a firm called Aperture, on behalf of the Commonwealth, has
It's too hot.
submitted a report that states that there was a trigger event at 12:31:56 that they refer to as the supposed collision? Are you aware of that?
Objection.
Sustained.
I recall seeing a report. Sorry.
Yep, you don't have to answer
Sorry,
that.
apologies.
That's okay.
To be 100% honest with you guys, I felt so stupid yesterday because I couldn't understand what they were saying. And then the prosecutor is going on and on about it like that's going to help us understand when it just got it further. I just can't with that. At least the defense is doing a little easier.
Mr. Whiffen,
Right.
are you familiar with a firm called Aperture?
I'm vaguely aware of them. I've heard of them once.
Are you familiar with a person by the name of Dr. Judson Welcher?
I'm not, no.
But you're familiar with the firm Aperture.
I am.
And do you know that the Aperture firm is working on this case?
That's the only reason I'm aware of this company.
Right. And do you know that the Aperture firm has used your data in your report? Do you know that?
I believe I saw something about that.
Do you believe you saw something, or do you know
believe
that they've used your
exactly.
data for a report in this matter?
I recall seeing a report. I don't recall whether it was my data that was being referenced.
Do you recall seeing a report from Aperture?
I do.
So you reviewed a report from Aperture.
Several months ago, yes.
And did you read the whole report?
Thank you for the follow, Lindsay.
It was a PowerPoint presentation, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, I reviewed it.
And you recall reading that entire PowerPoint presentation?
I don't recall what it said, but I remember reading through it.
Fair enough. Do you remember, as you sit here today,
Absolutely.
reading about a trigger of a number 1162-2? Do you recall reading that?
I recall seeing reference to a trigger event.
What did you understand the Aperture firm that's retained by the Commonwealth, what do you understand they meant by trigger 1162-2?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you recall the specific slide that discussed a trigger?
We got another flash goal, guys. So if we can get 32 different people to send one rose for one coin, we could knock this out of the park.
Objection.
Do you recall that, Mr. Whiffen?
Very vaguely.
Would it help your recollection if I showed you a slide from that report that you said you reviewed to refresh your recollection. Okay.
All right, so why don't I see counsel at sidebar? Bring that with you,
You
Mr.
guys are
Leslie,
just
please.
smashing this one out. Another sidebar. You know, I wonder why they didn't have many sidebars when the defense was asking for them. Just saying. Just saying. We're almost there. Where are we at, guys? We need 17 more. And we're done. So 17. I need one rose from 17 different people for one coin. I know, Riley. I totally get that. It's just, they just had one and they were not granting them for the defense. Hey, how are you, Kath? How are you? Well, we started it late on for the reason of not wanting to sit here and stare at the paint drying. Not that I have paint to dry, but we'll be fast forwarding through the lunch. Yeah, I'm good. Binks just got back from surgery. He had surgery yesterday. He has a cone on his head. He's not handling well, and neither am I. Yeah, I don't know what they're at right now. We started late for the reason of being able to fast forward through the lunch. Thank you, Kathy. Aaron's on the futon behind me with him right now so I can eat the lunch that's too hot to eat. Thank you for the follow, Jessica. Now, anyone that's new here, make sure you drop a follow on the Michelle's Criminal Musings instead of just Michelle N. That's only my backup. But that is the one I use for my beauty supplies. So if you're following for that, go for it. I don't know. They didn't state. They didn't state. We need 12 more roses from 12 people who have not sent a rose. Can we get 12 roses from 12 people that haven't sent them? They're one coin each. Thank you. 11 roses. 10 roses. For one coin, if you have not sent a rose, I just need one rose. Will this be our 5th time actually achieving a goal, a flash goal? We're almost there, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Apparently, we're supposed to have these now. I don't know much about it. I really need to get some time to look into it. We're almost there. 8 more roses. So if I can get one rose from 8 people that haven't sent one. Are you, Riley? The setup is much different than what we're used to. Now, keep in mind, guys, we're doing this as the virtual jury, so please, no spoilers. It is very small, but it kind of, they do their best to make it fit somehow. It's very cramped. Are we almost there? Thank you, Amber. How many more do we need? Eight more roses. I don't know if it's on a delay or not. Oh, it's 6. I can't see. If we could get 6 roses, 1 rose from 6 people, I would be immensely grateful. It's a flash goal thing. I think that's something new with TikTok. I'm not sure. But it's 1 coin. If you could just send me 1 rose if you haven't already sent it. They're still on sidebar. Oh. I could use my own backup. Thank you for saying that because I did not think about my backup. We almost got it, guys. That's your partner, Catnip. You're Juror 5 and he's Juror 5. Yep, they're Juror 5 too. 2 Juror 5s. One more. Just one more. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Seriously, guys, thank you so much. When they put those things up, I don't usually do them, but it's a new thing, and it keeps prompting me to do it. So I figured we could try it. This is our 5th time hitting one of those. We've missed quite a few, but we got one today, so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. For a second there, I got ready to hit the unpause button like I had it paused. I'm not sure, but it actually sounds like a good way. No, Danielle, please don't tell me that. You guys heard the update about that, right? Despite the autism claim, he can get DP. I just realized y'all could see my face. What is this? I don't like that. My face is supposed to be here. Okay. I hit my thing, that's why.
Mary, you're
You can approach.
Thank you.
We'll be covering that trial too.
Mr.
Which LT,
Griffin,
we need to go
I'm
over our
handing you,
dates again
This
later.
I'm handing you this document.
Thank you.
May I stand by the witness?
Sure.
I'm confuzzled.
Tell me when you've had a fair opportunity to take a look at that.
No, there's several that I know we were tracking, but I know 2 got moved. Alright, I'm gonna eat my burrito because it should be cooled off now. So I'm gonna hide my face so y'all don't have to watch.
Okay.
It's hard.
Thank you. Mr. Whiffen, does that refresh your recollection with regard to an aperture report that discusses a trigger of 1162.2?
It does, thank you.
Pardon me?
It does, thank you.
And
We did have Stephen Stearns, but that's been moved to July. Really, Lucid, I didn't know that. Thank you. I have never been big on the push for gifts, so I clearly need to figure this out. I don't know.
And how does it refresh your recollection?
I remember seeing that several months ago.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. There's a blower on here that I'm having trouble hearing Mr. Whiffen.
I'm betting
If
it
you,
will.
sir, could bring the mic, it's not your fault. If you could bring it and speak a little louder, I'd appreciate it.
I recall seeing that as part of the report that I read 2 months ago.
And you recall the time of 12:31:38 now, correct?
Correct.
Let's go back to your timeline. '82. So you just spoke about a
Pick me
trigger
up.
1162.2 associated with a time of 12:31:38, and we are now at the timeline of 12:31:56, correct? Objection.
Sustained.
We are now going back to the timeline, deck 82, and you see up at the top where it says health 31:56. You see that, sir?
I do.
I think me, you, and Sam were talking about going, so I need one of y'all to pick me up on the way.
And then it says start of health event. 36
No, wait, no,
steps.
it won't. I'm sorry to keep pausing you guys, but I just remembered it won't interfere because his next trial is in September. So we have one in July and one in September. So it shouldn't interfere.
That's 25 meters, which we have said is 84 feet or so.
Nope.
And this is when the
We really don't. Oh, no, we don't either. That's why we're doing it as a virtual jury, because we can't look into it. We took a Hippocratic oath.
device begins moving, correct?
Correct.
Not for me
And
either.
that is after the trigger of 1162.2, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Let's go to the next entry on the timeline, which
I'll pay for
is
gas, Kenneth.
123203. You see that? That's Doppler.
I do.
And then
Yep.
you state pocket state cleared. Is the phone at that time in a pocket?
It's impossible for me to say.
Defense, you seem like a great guy. You're not Mr. Jackson, but you're for the defense. But please, for the love of God, don't make us go through all of this all over again. Please.
I can say that the camera was blocked, but I don't know what was blocking it.
You're saying at this point the camera is blocked?
It had been blocked, and at that point, it became unblocked.
So at this point, it became unblocked from a previous block status, correct?
Yes.
Does there have to be some human manipulation of the phone at 123203 for that to happen?
Does there?
Technically not. There are scenarios that wouldn't require it.
Is it more likely than not that there had to have been some human contact in action for this pocket state clearing event to occur?
Yes.
123204 is the next. It's a type unlock.
Thank you, Kathy.
Device unlock with Face ID. You see that, sir?
I do.
Is there some human action that has to occur for the device to unlock with Face ID?
Typically, you must be paying attention to the phone.
I'm sorry, sir.
You must be paying attention to the phone, assuming that that setting's enabled.
So someone had to be looking at the phone.
Yes.
At 123205, application focus. What does that mean?
That the messages application was at the foreground of the device being used.
Next entry, 123206. We discussed this, it says read message, pull behind me, and that is associated with a Jen McCabe. It's the Jen McCabe message of 3147, correct?
Correct.
And
Why didn't you want us to know that, sir?
does a human have to be reading that for that entry to be made?
The message needs to be on screen. If the conversation with Jen McCabe was already on screen when the device was unlocked, then that message would automatically be considered read.
Next entry, app lock 123209.
Mm-hmm.
End application focuses messages, and then it says device locked with lock button for the last time. That requires human interaction with the phone, correct?
Correct.
And it actually requires somebody to take the cell phone and press the side button to do that, correct?
It does, yes.
So there has to be some degree of coordination for that to occur, for a human to be able to have something that hits that button, correct?
Certainly, yes.
Do you understand what the term fine motor skill means? Do you
Yes.
understand that? And would that person have to be using fine motor skills to do that?
Yes.
Next entry, 123216. End of health event, 36 steps, 25 meters, again 84 feet. That is in your timeline because that's when you believe the end of the health event, the end of the 36 steps occurred, correct?
That is the time that the device data shows the end of the health event, yes.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you need the light, Mr. Alessi?
Yeah, it would be helpful. Thank you,
Could we
Your
have the
Honor.
lights, please, Dave?
Do you recall writing in your March 2025 report the following? The final health activity of note on John's phone can be seen to have occurred between 12:31:56 and 12:32:16, during which 36 steps were recorded, covering a distance of 25.4 meters, again at 84 feet, according to healthdbsecure.db. Do you recall writing that?
I do.
And you used in your report 36 steps were recorded covering a distance of 25.4 meters or 84 feet, correct?
Correct.
Do
I
you
didn't even do
know
my
a
eyebrows
trooper named Nicholas Garino?
I'm aware of him, yes.
Are you a little more than aware of him? You've worked with him on this case, haven't
We
you?
don't know.
He sent me some of the files related to it, but further than that, I've got no relationship with him.
But isn't someone sending you files on a case you're working on, working with the person? Isn't that a fair conclusion?
It could be.
He didn't say could. He said, is it, sir? Yes or no?
Do you recall reading any reports of Nicholas Garino?
I don't recall reading a report by Nick.
Aaron.
Does that mean you didn't read it, or you just don't recall reading it?
I honestly can't remember if I did or not. I remember some of the reports that I read for this case. I don't recall if one was by Nick.
Would it refresh your recollection if I showed you a portion of his report to determine whether you would have read it?
Please.
Thank you. Moment, Your Honor, please.
Sure.
I'm just gonna give up on the eyebrows today. I'm giving up on everything. I look the way that I look. He's trying to
Thank you, Your Honor.
What's he trying to do?
Who's compromised?
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Show Mr. Brennan.
Yes. I just want to make sure.
I'm feeling that too. That's a really good question, Tara. But if it goes the way that it went yesterday, I'm sure we'll find out about every minute, second.
Thank you.
I am,
An hour.
and may I stand by the witness, Your Honor? Thank you. I am providing you with a document, and I would ask
Mike
if
Wazowski's
that
here.
refreshes your recollection as to whether you've read a report of Mr. Garino.
A report or this report?
This report. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Literally. I don't even have any lip gloss on. Where's my...
I don't recall ever seeing this report.
You don't recall, huh?
Have you ever had any conversations with Trooper Nicholas Garino?
Very briefly.
But you had, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Did Trooper Garino tell you that he measured the distance from the flagpole to the front door and it was 72 feet? Did he ever tell you that? and get to the phone.
Sustained.
Right?
Did you ever have a conversation with Trooper Nick Dorito about the distance from the flagpole to the front door of 34 Fairview?
Maybe. Maybe.
So, is it maybe then you had a conversation with him in which he stated to you that that distance is 72 feet?
It's maybe.
So if we go back to what we were
What is this?
discussing earlier
You can see, look at Mama.
about the steps
Oh, I guess
and the distance covered, and this is in your report of March 2025, where we've talked about this, and it's the final health activity of note on John's phone can be seen to have occurred between 12:31:56 and 12:32:16.
Is this the correct slide?
No, it's,
Okay.
it's
So
not.
let's take it down.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let me start that over. The final health activity of note on John's phone can be seen to have occurred between 12:31:56 and 12:32:16, during which 36 steps were recorded, covering a distance of 5.4 meters, or 84 feet. 84 feet is greater than 72 feet, correct?
Correct.
So if the distance from the flagpole to the front of the house is 72 feet, and your report notes steps, 36 steps covering a distance of 84 feet, that would put those steps within the house, correct?
It would.
How do you feel on being this? How do you feel?
Let's continue on with the timeline.
Not so hot. Still feels like my body's slightly burning.
Not so hot.
Deck 83.
Oh, my stomach's sure a little.
We now have Doppler 1233:14, and then Doppler pocket state.
A very bad flu virus that's
Do you
going
recall
around, I
in your
guess.
report adding a
Flu
word
B
to
is
this,
what they
that
called it.
your report
Flu
said
B?
pocket state
Yeah.
detected?
Take the
Do
plate
you
with
recall writing that?
More than likely, yes.
Yes. But the detected word is not on that slide, is it?
It's not, no.
What does pocket state detected mean?
That there was an active check by the Doppler function, and it detected that it was in a pocket state.
Inks is our report right now. No. You can't go out there.
May I have a moment, Your Honor? Yes. To switch? Thank you.
It sure does. He had to get fixed, so he's in a cone. He's not handling the cone well.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's why I look the way that I do today. I said, I give up. I'm just going to be a kitty mommy today. Forget the hair and makeup.
Do you need this slide up there, Mr. Alessi?
I was just going to check that. I think the answer is going to be no, Your Honor.
And Bink sleeps with his face pressed to mine, and he's trying. And all he's pressing is his cone. Thank you. Go sleep, Binks. They shaved off some of his hair on his
I would now
ankle.
like to change gears a bit and go
Wrist.
to temperature with an iPhone. You recall that discussion in your direct testimony.
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Wolk, if we could please have the slide deck, but a different page, slide 60. And just tee it up. And
I know
please
why
don't
he's
put
bringing
it on
up
the screen
temperature.
deck.
Do you know? Because he was laying in the snow. So did
iPhones
he recall
don't
that?
record ambient or the environmental temperature where the phone may be at any given time, correct?
Correct.
But the iPhones, including the iPhone of John O'Keefe, log the temperature of the battery inside of it, correct?
Correct.
And as a result of that function, examiners and folks like you can use the battery temperature of an iPhone to identify increases or decreases in temperature within the environment that the iPhone is physically located in. True?
I believe so, yes.
And that's right out of your report, right? Your March 2025 report makes that very statement, correct?
Yes.
The battery temperature of an iPhone generally matches the pattern of the rise and the fall of the thermometer temperature, correct?
From my testing, yes.
And when an iPhone is in a locked state with little activity occurring on the device, the battery temperature is heavily affected by the ambient temperature in the environment, again, matching the pattern of the rise and the fall of the thermometer temperature, right?
Correct.
And what I just read is right out of your March 2025 report, correct?
It sounds like it is, yes.
And you actually established this in various temperature testing
come in.
and test scenarios in your March 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
Discuss
Did you see
those
the kids?
two
The
tests.
girls? Did you feed the girls?
They still have
Did you give her TREATs?
experience too.
Okay. You want to go lay with your daddy?
You had an appendix to your report that discussed two test scenarios with regard to temperature, correct?
Correct.
Can
And
I
that
just
was
ask, I'm sorry, Mr. Whiffen, do you have your report with you, sir?
I don't have a copy in front of me.
I'd be happy to provide him with a copy of his report so we can have him follow along.
I think that's great, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Would that be helpful, Mr. Whiffen?
Very, thank you.
You got approach.
I
Yes.
can't take it off, baby. I can't take it off.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go. And Mr. Whiffen, feel free at any time to reference that report.
Thank you.
And if you could, turn to page 77.
What took your attention, Vince?
Come on, daddy.
Okay.
So, are you ready, sir?
I am, yes.
Thank you. So let's look at test scenario 1. Test scenario 1, you took an iPhone, if I'm remembering correctly, same model as John O'Keefe's?
I believe John O'Keefe's was iPhone 11. I used an iPhone 10.
But sufficiently
Very similar.
similar for purposes of this experiment?
Correct.
Or this
It's the
test?
same iOS version.
Yes. So it's the same iOS version, the software inside the phone, just a different model.
Yes,
And it's the software that's important for this test, correct?
I believe so.
So you state that you placed the iPhone inside a freezer, correct?
Correct.
It's okay.
And now if we could, Mr. Wolf, if we can
Yeah.
put that, do we have that in would be page 77? And if we could enlarge that chart, please.
Give us that quickly right now.
Enlarge
Daddy's
it
turn.
just a little bit more. We're not concerned with the text at this point. So we can just get the chart as large as possible. Thank you. Thank you. So, what I'd like to do is focus on January 29th. excuse me, this is your experiment. When did you do test scenario 1, approximately, the date?
This is a good
Does anybody remember the prosecution bringing up the temperature in relation with the phone?
question. It was sometime probably in December last year.
I'm sorry,
In December last year, I believe.
December 2024.
Correct.
So what you did here was you took the phone,
Me either.
you put it inside a freezer. What was the temperature of the freezer?
I actually don't know.
But it was a freezer.
It was freezing. Yes.
It is sort of your just regular freezer that everybody
a
has.
regular chest
Nothing
freezer.
special about
No.
it. Let's look at some of the data that you have from it. Let's start at the 1710 time frame, where it's placed in the freezer, and you've got, and we're going to go with Fahrenheit, if that's okay with you.
Of course, yes.
Thank you. 73.4 degrees. Correct?
Correct.
This is while the phone's in a
if you
freezer.
go all the way down to the 1725, which would be 15 minutes, correct?
Correct.
Can you state what the drop in temperature is of the battery temperature in just 15 minutes in a freezer?
Approximately 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
So it drops 50 degrees Fahrenheit in just 15 minutes.
Correct.
And is it fair to say that if you do the math, that that's about a little over 3.5 degrees per minute? And if Your Honor, if you wants to use a calculator, or just accept my estimate, whatever Your Honor thinks is appropriate.
However you can answer the question, Mr. Whitman.
I'm happy to accept your answer. That's fine.
Let me just make sure. I have a moment, Your Honor.
Now you're going to use a calculator?
3.33, would that sound fair, sir?
That sounds fair.
So it's about 3.3 degrees Fahrenheit per minute drop, correct?
Correct.
Now let's go to the next page of your report, page 78, where test scenario 2. And in test scenario 2, you took the same phone with the same software and you placed it outside at a temperature of 33.8 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Correct.
And we could enlarge that, please, Mr. Wolf. And if you could just scroll up, well, if you just leave it there, it's fine. So if we take the time that we start out with a control temperature, and then we've got a battery temperature at 9:02, and this is the battery temperature of the iPhone, correct?
Correct.
And we've got 66.2 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Correct.
So is it fair to call that a baseline for purposes of what this chart is?
The device had already been outside for 2 minutes at that point, but yes.
Okay, so we'll just refer to 66.2. And then if we go from 9:02 down to 9:15, a period of 13 minutes, correct?
Correct.
So at 33.8 degrees and 13 minutes, what is the drop in temperature in degrees? What's the drop?
Sorry, between the 9:02 and the 9:15?
Right. So does it go from 66.2 to 35.6?
It does.
And sir, so I don't have to have you do a math on the fly. I've calculated it, that drop at 30.6. Does that sound about right?
That sounds correct, yes.
So you got a drop of 30.6 degrees in just 13 minutes at an outside temperature of 33.8, correct?
Correct.
He just did an audible swallow. I have a feeling something interesting's coming.
We're going to come back to this, but what I'd like to do is to compare these two test scenarios. The one we just saw at 33 degrees Fahrenheit, where it dropped 30.6 degrees in just 13 minutes, again at an outdoor temperature of 33.8, and then test scenario 1 in a freezer, where it dropped 61.2 degrees in just 15 minutes. Now let's go to the slide 60, which was in your slide presentation yesterday, of what you stated was the temperature change in the iPhone of John O'Keefe on the morning of January 29th.
Phone or you?
You with
Or
me,
me?
sir?
Yep.
Thank you. So if we start out at 12:13, we see a battery temperature of 82 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Correct.
Then it drops a little bit to 77, a little bit to 72. And what I want to focus on is keeping the starting point for my questions here at the 12:37 time period on the morning of January 29th. And that's 72 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Correct.
So if you take the time period from 12:37 to 12:53, that's a 15-minute interval, correct?
Correct.
The phone only drops 11 degrees Fahrenheit in 15 minutes, correct?
Correct.
If you then go to 12:37 and give it a little bit more time, down to 1:36 a.m., the temperature, and that's just about an hour, right?
Correct.
And the temperature drops from 72 to 50, only 22 degree drop in an hour, correct?
Correct.
Now, if you compare this chart in the drop in temperature, for example, 12:37, 12:53, in 15 minutes, it's only dropping 11 degrees, to your experiments, where with the first scenario with the freezer, it dropped
Thank you for sharing, Marco.
50 degrees in a 15-minute period. Is it correct to say that there was a much more dramatic drop in temperature in your test scenario 1 than what actually occurred on John O'Keefe's phone for the time period we just covered in January 29th?
Yes.
And then with regard to even test scenario 2, where the temperature is 33.8 degrees, that's the ambient, the outdoor temperature,
Correct.
right? At that temperature, just above freezing, you've got a,
During a
So
blizzard,
it's below freezing.
I'm sorry,
It's below freezing.
what is freezing in Fahrenheit?
Don't know, but it's 0 degrees Celsius.
Right.
And it was minus 5 degrees Celsius at the time.
Right, but would you agree that, and I want to be fair to you because I know you use Celsius more
Yes.
than Americans who use Fahrenheit, but would you agree that 32 degrees Fahrenheit is the freezing point in Fahrenheit?
I honestly wouldn't know.
Okay, fair enough. So In any event, in your experiment at 33,
Is he saying that all of the results on his report are done the way that they do them in the UK for temperatures?
0.8 degrees Fahrenheit, you're getting a drop in your experiment in 13 minutes of 30.6 degrees, right?
Correct.
But much less drop in temperature on slide deck 60 of the actual iPhone of John O'Keefe on the morning of January 29th, correct?
Yes, correct.
Do you know what the temperature was in Canton in January 29th, 2022?
I do not know.
Don't you think that that would be an important piece of information?
Hell yes.
In analyzing where the phone of John O'Keefe was on the morning of January 29th?
I didn't think it was.
How did this guy never bother to check the temperature and say it doesn't read? You did results based on temperature and you didn't bother to check what temperature it was where they say he was laying for that whole period of time?
So you didn't think it was important, even though you issued a report discussing the temperature of the iPhone, and you did 2 test
This is going on the
scenarios,
notes.
one in a freezer, one in an ambient temperature of slightly above 33 degrees, and you didn't think it important to take the final step to see whether there was anything to be gained from that comparison to determine where that phone was located?
My testing proved that the battery temperature is affected by ambient temperature. My report shows the data that was on the device. I also don't know the condition that the phone was found in, whether it was in a case, whether it was in a pocket. So to me, the ambient temperature in Canton at the time wasn't particularly relevant. I just wanted to show what data the device had recorded.
It's not relevant to who, sir. Let's make that crystal.
The information that you create from your digital forensics analysis, including everything that's in the
I would
slide,
think.
in your report, including battery...
What was that?
What's that, sir? I'll go back to the question. In digital forensics, you work with law enforcement often, correct?
Correct.
And you work in law enforcement in investigating cases, do you not?
Yes.
And so oftentimes, the law enforcement is using your digital forensics information to help them solve cases, correct?
Correct.
You didn't suggest to anybody on law enforcement that they might want to take a look at this temperature information to assist in determining where this phone could have been by the temperature? You never raised that with them?
We'll
I did
wait.
not.
And do you know whether any law enforcement person was aware that you had done all this temperature analysis?
It was in my report.
So you create a report as part of this case,
Hi, Regina. How are you?
and you deem the temperature important enough to do 2 test scenarios, important enough to put it in a slide presentation to this jury. Yet there's no discussion of that between you and any member of law
How are you?
enforcement as to what it means?
Think
The
carefully.
details were provided in my report, and there was discussions, but it never came up as to say what was the temperature in Canton that night.
Oh, so there were discussions.
Not with law enforcement.
Oh, who were
As
the
part of my preparations for trial.
Oh, tell me about who you discussed this temperature
Enlighten
information
us.
with.
It was with Hank.
You're hesitating, and I can't hear you. Who did you discuss
with
it
Hank?
Excuse me?
With Mr. Brennan?
Attorney Brennan?
Yes.
You discussed temperature with Prosecutor Brennan.
It was in my report.
It was in your report,
That was a mic drop.
but you said you discussed. Which is it?
I just
It's
pretend
in
it
my
was.
report, and the discussion was that it is in my report. I'm not in a position to
Hi,
suggest
Samantha.
that investigations take place and change based on my report findings.
Oh, sir, I'm not suggesting what you just stated. I'm just trying to get information about, you mentioned the verb discussed. Didn't you, in your
Yes, I
answer
did.
moments ago?
Yes.
Isn't discussed a verbal thing? It's not a written thing?
Yes, it sure the hell
It
is.
was discussed in preparation for trial, yes.
Oh, so there was a discussion, a verbal discussion with Attorney Brennan about temperature in your preparation for trial.
Yes.
Was there any interest at all as to what this could actually mean for the potential location of Mr. O'Keefe's
Be
phone
honest.
on these very important time periods in January?
Catnip, you just missed something huge. Because I love you all, I'm going to take us back just 30 seconds.
You work with law enforcement often, correct?
Correct.
And you work in law enforcement in investigating cases, do you not?
Yes.
And so oftentimes, the law enforcement is using your digital forensics information to help them solve cases, correct?
Correct.
You didn't suggest to anybody on law enforcement that they might want to take a look at this temperature information to assist in determining where this phone could have been by the temperature? You never raised that with them?
I did not.
And do you know whether any law enforcement person was aware that you had done all this temperature analysis?
It was in my report.
So you create a report as part
Thank you for the fellow
of this
person.
case, and you deem the
welcome.
temperature important enough to do two
You weren't
test
talking to me, never mind.
scenarios, important enough to put it in a slide presentation to this juror.
Thank you for the follow.
Yet there's no discussion of that between you and any
Listen.
member of law enforcement as to what it means?
The details were provided in my report, and there was discussions, but it never came up as to say what was the temperature in Canton that night.
Oh, so there were discussions.
Not with law enforcement.
You said that
As part
quick.
of my preparations for trial.
Oh, tell me about who you discussed this temperature information with.
Thank you for the follow, Claire.
It was with Hank.
You're hesitating, and I can't hear you. Who did you discuss
with
it
Hank?
Excuse me?
With Mr. Brennan?
Attorney Brennan?
Yes.
You discussed temperature with
Not only did he discuss, he's on a first name basis.
Prosecutor Brennan.
It was in my report.
It was in your report, but you said you discussed. Which is it?
He should
It's
be.
in my report, and the discussion was that it is in my report. I'm not in a position to suggest that investigations take place and change based on my report findings.
Oh, sir, I'm not suggesting what you just stated. I'm just trying to get information
Yes.
about, you mentioned the verb discussed. Didn't you, in your
Yes, I
answer
did.
moments ago?
Yes.
Isn't discussed a verbal thing? It's not a written thing?
It was discussed in preparation for trial, yes.
Oh, so there was a discussion, a verbal discussion with Attorney Brennan about temperature in your preparation for trial.
Yes.
Was there any interest at all as to what this could actually mean for the potential location of Mr. O'Keefe's phone on these very important time periods in January 29th that might assist to determine at various times whether Mr. O'Keefe is in a covered building based upon the temperature rather than outside in a nor'easter on January 29th?
I'm sorry, what was the question there?
Yeah, the question is, there was there any discussion
He's still getting into
about
it.
the investigative value of what you had done in determining where that phone could have been on key time periods on the morning of January 29th?
That wasn't part of the discussion, no.
It wasn't part of the discussion. We went through, you may recall in my questioning,
Notes.
in your report, where you stated that it was possible that the phone could be inside the house of 34 Fairview based upon that big white circle. You testified that the low accuracy at certain points could be because of it entering a covered building, correct?
Correct?
And you do a temperature experiment to track the very accurate temperature change of an iPhone, and it doesn't match up the actual data with either of your test scenarios, and you don't raise that with
No.
anybody. Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Of course you would object to that, Hank.
Did you ever put together in any kind of form your test scenario 1, your test scenario 2, and the actual temperature chart of the iPhone of Mr. O'Keefe?
So how do you mean put it together? As in compare the two?
Exactly. Compare the two and reach any conclusions about location, because you spent time, did you not, sir? A lot of time in your reports on location of the phone.
Yes.
But yet, with all that data, all that testing, all the experiments that you didn't include in your slide presentation, and you didn't include in your report what that could mean for the location of the phone, did you, sir?
I'm struggling to see the comparison there.
Of course you are, because you and Hank didn't prepare for this part, now did you?
Let me see if I can ask it in a different
Please.
way. Nowhere in your slide presentation did you have any discussion yesterday about how your test scenario, did you bring up, by the way, in your slide presentation yesterday, your battery temperature at all, your tests?
Not the tests, no.
Right, so you didn't even raise yesterday in your presentation about where the phone might be located. You didn't even raise the experiments that you did, correct? Objection.
Sustained.
Of course,
is to the
Hank.
Terminology. Ask it differently.
And from here henceforth in this room, the prosecutor will be referred to as Hank.
Did you yesterday, in your presentation to the jury, in any way discuss your battery test scenario 1 and 2 in your March 2025 report?
I believe there was mention of testing, but not to the amount of detail to say what the testing was.
Just ask him the question, did you keep this from the jury? Because that's the question you really want to ask him. Just ask it.
So there was no detail given at all
No
about
detail.
it. You just mentioned that it occurred, but no detail in your discussion
Correct.
at all. And are you aware, with regard to the battery temperature, that battery temperature in investigations can be used to determine locations of phones at certain times? Are you aware of that?
No.
So you have never used battery temperature information in all your years in any way for any investigation of a case in determining location of a phone?
Again, I don't see how you can determine location of a device from a temperature reading.
Do you want to know how? One was in the snow, one wasn't in the snow. There's a big damn difference, sir.
Other than to say whether it was inside or outside.
So battery temperature
Secondhand embarrassment.
and the chart that you gave that is up there, in your opinion, has no relevancy to the topic of where a phone might be to investigators in a case? Is that what you're saying? Objection.
Is that what you're saying, Mr. Whiffen?
I'm saying I can't take a temperature reading and make a determination about a GPS location. based on the temperature reading.
That's not my question, though,
Okay.
sir, and I appreciate your answer, though. My question is, you work with law enforcement investigators regularly,
Yes.
correct? Isn't this information of potential relevance based upon your experience with investigations? Isn't this information at least potentially relevant in investigations?
I believe it could be. That's why I included it in my report.
Thank you. But you didn't include a discussion of it in your testimony yesterday, correct?
Correct.
No, we're behind. We start late so we can fast forward through the breaks.
I just want to be clear on a final point as regards temperature. Were you aware
You're welcome.
of the temperature in Canton on January 29th, 2022?
I know it was a blizzard, but I don't know what the temperature was.
Really? You don't feel like that was important? No,
May I have a
guys.
moment to switch?
We start late so that way we can fast forward through the commercials.
But
Or
you
through the
still-
breaks, not
Thank you,
commercials. I pay for us to skip
Thank you,
commercials.
Mr. Whippen. I'll be right back.
Yes, you should be worried, sir. I know you're thinking, should I be worried? I'm going to answer you, hell yes. This is a big damn deal, you guys. You have a witness that is doing reports on cell phone data. He tested it based on temperature. His report did not equal what they wanted it to. So he just decides never to bring it up. Anybody else smell another mistrial? Sorry, my husband is sick. I'm keeping an eye on him and my cat who had surgery. So sorry, you'll have to hear that. Just
Your Honor, if I may, I have one last point to make with temperature. If we could put deck 60 back up, please.
deck 60. Let's go to deck
Mr. Whiffen,
60.
you bear with me. I just have
course.
one final set of questions.
Did you notice one huge difference? He doesn't take attack like jabs at the witness. He just gets to the damn point.
If you look at this chart,
Thank you so much, Claire.
and you, under January 29th at 12:13, battery temperature of 82 degrees. But you then go down, what I'd like to start with is 12:37 again. And this is a key time point, 12:37. You've got a temperature of 72 degrees. And then 8 minutes later, 8 minutes,
Me
the
too.
temperature only drops 6 degrees, correct?
Correct.
Again, using 1237 is what I refer to as the baseline. You go all the way down, and you see to 1253 a temperature drop of only 11 degrees. Do you see that?
I do.
Thank you. That you can. Excuse me, Your Honor. One moment.
Okay.
Did he say 12 degrees? It was 12, right? Okay, because it goes in the notes. Next page.
The final data point on this slide, Mr. Whippen, and thank you for bearing with me on this. At 136, there's a temperature
Thank you,
of
George.
50 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Correct.
Several hours later, at 6:06, 4.5 hours, the temperature drop is only 7 degrees, correct?
Correct.
Wow. Maybe it's
May I have a brief moment?
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that would be fair to say, in my opinion. And guys, when you're stating my opinion on stuff and it looks like it might be a fact, please put IMO after it. Greatly appreciate it. IMO means in my opinion. This, I'm just going to say it, this is a total shit show. It's okay. You could always just use your stickers too. If you guys are a subscriber, you can use the IMO stickers too. Why are you laying in there, Lucy? Aaron,
May I approach your arm?
Yes.
he's laying in there.
May I have
The litter
exhibit
box.
42, please?
Oh, sweet cheese and crackers. No, Jessica, we're a little bit behind. We start late so we can fast forward through the lunches and stuff like
What
that.
is Exhibit 42?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We've got it. Thank you, Tori.
May I hand it to the witness?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman, I'm handing you.
I agree with you,
exhibit
LT.
42.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, we're the delayed live. Yeah.
Do you recognize exhibit 42 from your March 2025 report?
I do.
And sir, just take a fair time to familiarize yourself with the exhibit before I start asking you questions. They're going to be very brief. And I'm going to be, you look what you need to, but I'm going to be focusing on just under detailed analysis communications on paragraph 3, on page 43, the top 3.
Amanda,
or
I'm inclined
entries.
to agree.
Okay. Tell me when you're ready, sir.
Not only that, it should be dropped with prejudice. They should not be allowed to bring this woman on trial again.
Okay,
And
thank
she
you.
should sue the hell out of the
Your
whole
Honor, may
county.
I have 43, which is in evidence public?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Wolf, please. And if you could enlarge, you don't need the text, so we can.
Keep in mind this is a public trial, so if you all live in the area and you're seeing people perjured that there's no charges, call your local people. Let them know you know.
And just go to detailed
words are
analysis,
failing me right
communication,
now.
call history, and now if you could just super enlarge
Call your
the
legislators.
first few entries. Yes, that is great. So what I want to do is just cover the information here. Whose phone is the subject of the entries on this chart?
This is John's phone.
And if we start with the first entry reading left to right,
I might need to be in a wheelchair, but I'll do
12:14:36, end time 12:15:20, incoming call from Jen McCabe. Duration 44 seconds. You see that, sir?
I do.
You see, and is that
I
a
know you
call
want it
that
off.
is answered?
Yes.
If you go to the next entry, 1847, just 12:18:47 to 12:19:23, outgoing call duration 36 seconds to Jen McCabe, duration 36 seconds. Do you see that, sir?
I do.
Is that
Do we have any lawyers in the house? Back there, maybe? No, behind you. Back there a little more. If I am remembering correctly, which God knows that's a slim chance, my memory sucks, but can the judge not decide to stop the case? You know, declare mistrial? And the fact that she's not is what leads me to be inclined to go along with that as well, in my opinion.
a call that is answered?
Difficult to say. That could be a outgoing call that lasted 36 seconds of ringing, but I
Well, I
believe
hope
it was
they
answered.
Well, how is it that you can tell the first one was answered but not the second one?
Because it's an incoming call.
Okay, fair enough. So if we go to the third entry, 122944, 122951, incoming call from Jen McCabe. You see that, sir?
And I'll make the drop. Could I ask about
Okay.
the display?
We just said that.
No.
Binksy, you okay, baby? No, Binksy, you can't do that. He's hitting his head on stuff to try to get that cone off. I know you want it off, baby, but you can't have it off yet. I don't have it paused. They do. You can't take it off, honey. I'm sorry. I know you want it off. Mommy knows. I know, baby. You want mommy to hold you? Mama, give you scratches there? Come on. You okay? Aaron, did you fall asleep?
No.
I was gonna say you're gonna drop your phone on your face.
Sorry.
That's my question too, but I have a feeling it might be multiples. Binks hasn't used the litter box since he's got home. We had to set up a new one because, you know, we can't use regular litter. And right now he's laying in a brand new litter pan with the soft stuff that's in it because he's trying to use the edge to peel his cone off of his head. I will let him until he uses that litter box, and there's no going in there. No rolling around. I'm wondering if it was multiple somebodies. They're fixing the thing. Don't worry, guys. It's not me, it's them. It's not you, it's me.
I'm told this seems like an appropriate time to take our morning recess.
You
So
can.
why don't we take a
We
15 or
don't
20
have
minute
to.
recess?
They're going to take a recess. We're not. This is why I started late, so that we don't have to sit here.
Obviously to place Exhibit 42, and it's per stipulation with Mr. Brennan.
Yes. Which one's going to be? Thank you.
May I present it to Mr. Whitfield?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Whitfield.
She looks annoyed.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
And Mr. Wolf, if you could again please enlarge, we're going to be focusing on the top entry of the chart again.
Aaron, did you take Echo?
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Whiffen, we had started going through the top three entries. The first one you had indicated was answered. The second one you, as I understand it, could not tell. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then the third entry, which is reading left to right, 12:29:44, end time 12:29:51. Incoming call duration 8 seconds from Jen McCabe.
Correct.
That's the third one. So because it's an
So,
incoming...
Mr. Alessi, we need to enlarge this.
Okay, Your Honor. Mr. Wolf, can you enlarge that pursuant to the judge's order? Is that sufficient, Your Honor?
If you could make it as large as possible for the jurors, please, even if you have to do smaller segments.
If we have to, Mr. Wolf, knock off the final right-hand column that's insignificant, there you go.
All right, that's better. Okay, that's fine, thank you.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. So I want to now go to the last one for
What are you
this
doing?
Exhibit
I
42.
told you.
It's reading from left to right, 12:29:44, 12:29:51, incoming call duration at seconds from Jen McCabe. Again, it restates duration 8 seconds.
Correct.
Given that it's an incoming call, you can
See?
conclude that that was answered, correct?
Correct.
Now, if we could go back down and focusing on just the first three by way of example, Mr. Wolf, to just as Her Honor has requested, enlarge it as large as possible. Those three, after the first three, yep, starting there, just take the first three by way of example. All right.
It's
Mr.
cold too,
Whitman,
that's why when you
you
take the
should
temperature.
feel free to look at the hard copy exhibit 42 if that's more helpful to you. But what I want to do is to focus on start time 12:33:35,
yeah.
reading across activity, incoming call, unanswered, and then to the right, Karen Reed. Do you see that, sir?
I do.
And do you see the same types of entries for 3409 and 3438?
I do.
And those calls are unanswered, correct?
Correct.
So in contrast to the, and now Mr. Wilker, we can go back to the chart.
If she put him out
Chapter
there
6.
and she hit him, why would she be calling him?
Enlarge those once last time. Thank you. So in the
For his chat?
first one at 1436 and then skipping one to 2944, those are answered.
Remind me that
And
in
then
like an hour.
starting, excuse me, at 3335 and 3409, those are unanswered, correct?
Correct.
Don't worry, if you miss a part of it, I'll put the live up after we're done. Yesterday's is up and every other day is up. It's on my YouTube, same name, Michelle's Criminal Musings.
You can take that down, Mr. Wolf. Thank you.
Absolutely. And when you're over there at the YouTube, please hit subscribe. It's free, doesn't cost a thing.
We have a moment, Your Honor, to switch topics.
I have a feeling they're getting to something even juicier than we thought. Thank you. We have a Facebook page too. That's Criminal Musings. So no Michelle, just Criminal Musings. We have a Facebook group for that too.
Mr. Whiffen, when did you start working on this case?
Thanks,
What was
Jules.
the date, approximate date?
On this case or on this exhibit?
On this case?
Approximately September 2023.
So, over a year and a half.
Correct.
How many times have you been in Norfolk County?
This is my second time.
So you were here once previously.
Correct.
Do you recall yesterday discussing what you had done with an iPhone, driving around and then moving it with your hand?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
In the year and a half that you've been on this case, did you ever take an iPhone and do the same activity on the route that you were discussing yesterday between 34 Fairview and One Meadows?
I did it on Sunday night.
I'm sorry?
I did it 2 days ago on Sunday night.
And with regard to your time on this case,
I'm seeing
what
orbs again.
was the results of that?
I object, Your Honor. I'll need to be heard briefly.
I'm sorry?
I got anything you heard briefly.
Okay. Point over.
The Hank has asked for another sidebar. Funny how that happens, isn't it? Did you ever wonder if part of the reason there's so little evidence proving she's guilty is because somebody else unalived your brother? Maybe it's John. I forgot to go back and look at yesterday's live before I put it up to see if I saw the orb.
99.7.
Okay, baby. Still, I want you to take some Advil. This is the first courtroom I've seen orbs in. I'm not gonna lie. These sidebars are getting longer and longer for Hank. And if you're wondering who Hank is, that's the name of the district attorney. And we know his name is Hank because he was on a first name basis with the witness. Yep, they sure do. He actually struggled to figure out his last name. This case has me using my eyebrow expressions, which is going to make me have even more wrinkles, so I wish it would stop. I can't help it. I have no idea. It was muted on their end. They don't get to hear the sidebars.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
Behind him.
Mr. Whiffen, I am now going to proceed to a different topic. Do you recall discussing the Google search, How Long to Die in the Cold?
I do.
And you discussed that in your direct testimony, correct?
I did.
You were a police officer for years before getting into the data forensic analysis of cell phones, correct?
Correct.
You were a response officer of the South Yorkshire Police from 2004 to 2009.
Correct.
You continued policing with the Calgary Police, working patrol, correct?
Correct.
You work frequently with law enforcement.
I do.
Indeed, law enforcement is the predominance of your work, correct?
Probably about 80% of the work. Yes.
What percent?
About 80%.
80?
80.
Let me get
Your work is used in investigations for law enforcement, correct?
Sometimes, yes.
In your area of work, you use and apply various forensic methods that are extracted, that data is extracted from a cell phone, correct?
Correct.
And you have various forensic methods to analyze that data, correct?
Correct.
And that data that you analyze is often used by law enforcement in their investigations, right?
It can be, yes.
It can be, but it also is, from your experience, correct?
I'm sorry, are we talking about my actual analysis or analysis that's created by the tools that me and Cellbrite create?
Your analysis.
Okay, my analysis is typically used in investigations.
Just
yes.
say in this
So
case.
typically, your analysis is typically used by law enforcement.
On the cases that I work, yes.
Correct. And you know that is going to be the case
I have no idea.
oftentimes when you're doing your analysis, correct?
Correct.
I have a feeling it's because they're
And
trying to cover something up, but that's just my
Forensic
opinion.
software is used to gain access to people's devices, correct?
Correct.
Such as cell phones, right?
Correct.
So And there's something called an extraction process from a cell phone that you discussed in your direct testimony.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I want to cover, because it would be covering old ground, but I want to cover some of it.
Okay.
It's important, is it not, that the extraction process on a cell phone be performed correctly.
It is, yes.
Until he said it
And
the way
that's so
that they
that the
wanted, I
data
guess.
that's extracted from a cell phone is complete, correct?
Correct.
So that the data is correct,
Correct.
and so that the data is reliable.
Correct.
And data forensic examiners and people in your area of work
Who?
need to ensure that the extraction file
That's
has
why I
not
had to go out there. What did you think?
been tampered with, correct?
Correct.
Because if an
I had to
extraction
say something because you just asked me. She
File.
was out in the laundry room.
has the possibility of tampering, then the information and data from it can
Here we
be
go.
unreliable, correct?
Correct.
And
Notifications, I saw you enter. If you type anything, you're just going to get blocked. I'm just letting you know that right now. I know you like to play this game where you go into people's live and you say, notifications, your live has been reported, or some bullshit like that. Where I'm not that person. You picked the wrong one.
there's a generally accepted
Oh, you want to
methodology
type.
for how
Huh.
to perform an extraction of data from a cell
Mm-hmm.
phone, correct?
And I'm not there, so I don't know.
Typically, yes.
One of the key ways to determine
I'm
whether
sure.
the data extracted from a cell phone is valid and has integrity is to evaluate whether the extraction process created what is called a hash value, correct?
Correct.
And a synonym for a hash value is a hash signature, correct?
Correct.
Or a
And a
hashtag.
hash value or hash signature, I'm just going to use hash value. Is that acceptable to you?
I'm fine with that.
Thank you. So a hash value is a unique and usually consists of a long string of numbers and letters that's generated from the data file from a cell phone using a computer algorithm, right?
Correct.
No.
And one of the computer algorithms is SHA 256, right?
Correct.
Thank you for the follow, Crystal.
And is
I
it
love your
a
middle
fair
name.
analogy to state that a hash value can be thought of as
This is the defense speaking now. I
fingerprint
can't remember which
for
one
a
it
data
is. What
file
his name is,
from
though.
a cell phone?
Yes.
And is it also a rough
But we
analogy
like him.
that a hash value can function like the seal on a milk container? In other words, if you open the milk container and the seal's
You're
broken,
welcome.
that the
Oh,
same
gosh.
analogy can be provided that if you don't have a valid hash value, then there is a question with regard to the
I'll update you on
contents
them when we get
of
them
a
in
cell
a
phone,
minute
just
here.
as there might be concern about contents of a milk carton. Is that a fair general analogy?
Yeah, if the hash doesn't match, then something has changed in the data.
So if the hash doesn't match or you can't determine a valid hash file, it's sort of like opening up a milk container and that seal cap is off, correct?
Okay, I'll accept that.
Thank you.
You guys know where this is going, right? Can you feel what I feel right now? Can you feel a disturbance in the force? Joanne, what we figured out is he's on a first name basis with the DA, who is named Hank, by the way. It's Hank. And he only goes by, he barely knew his last name. And he left out some really important stuff, and they just called him out on it. Again, thank you for the follow.
Now, if a data file is altered in any way, the hash algorithm is going to produce a different letter and numeric string than the previous
I'll put it
hash
on
value
YouTube,
for
don't
that
worry.
same alleged data, correct?
Thank
Correct.
you for the
So
follow, Stephanie.
that alphanumeric number is important because it can, if it's different, then it means something happened to that data, correct?
Correct.
And isn't it important for examiners, anybody in data forensics, to know whether or not the data they're looking at has a valid hash value?
It would depend, in my opinion, on the origin of the data.
But you would agree that it's much better to have a valid hash value for data than not, correct?
I'd like to see the hash value match, yes.
You would like to see the hash value matching,
Yes.
correct? Now, once data from an iPhone
Thanks.
is properly extracted and you get a hash value, then the examiners of the data seek to pass and decode the data to try and make some sense of the data in a more user-friendly format so that a report can be created for investigators, correct?
Correct.
You okay?
Do you recall preparing a report for the iPhone belonging to Jen McCabe dated December 2024?
I do, yes.
And in that report, you discussed your views of a Google search of How Long to Die in the Cold, correct?
Correct.
And in that report, you rendered various conclusions about that Google search, correct?
Correct.
And you rendered various conclusions about
Okay.
what is called a timestamp.
Correct.
And the timestamp that was in question was 2:27:40 a.m. on January 29th on Jen McCabe's phone, correct?
Correct.
And the question that you were looking at is that timestamp that appeared in the data, that timestamp of 2:27:40 a.m., whether that belonged to the
Try what,
Google
Parker?
search How Long to Die in
happened?
the Cold, correct?
Correct.
You mean because you had to come back?
And you testified yesterday with regard to that very issue, correct?
I
Correct.
know because it's interesting.
Now, in your report of December 2024,
That night.
you discussed the hash value of that cell phone, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yesterday, in your direct testimony, you didn't mention anything about the hash value with regard to Jen McCabe's phone, did you?
Not in my testimony, no.
The answer is no, correct? However, isn't it correct that in your report of December 2024, you had an issue with the hash value from the data from that phone?
Don't do it again.
I didn't have an issue with the hash value at all, no.
So, you
Notifications. We're doing this as the virtual jury. No spoilers, please.
didn't note that it was not possible with the gray key extraction, as the PDF containing the extraction has its value, that it was unsigned? That was not an issue in your report?
The hash value matches,
Potato,
but
potato.
because I didn't do the extraction, I'm unable to actually validate that was an original hash and hadn't been modified.
Exactly. So you didn't do the extraction, but you couldn't validate the hash value, could you?
No.
So you
Somebody else
couldn't
did.
determine whether or not any of the data on that cell phone of Jen McCabe had been tampered with, correct?
I take a holistic view of the data.
When I say things, I pause. I do it quickly. It's not being rude. I was just being frank with what I was asking you not to do.
And tried to find anomalies and didn't see any that raised any flags.
That wasn't my question, sir.
Okay.
I'll try it a different way. You concluded that the hash value was unsigned, correct?
Correct. They were always unsigned. Okay, apologies.
Thank you for the extra
concluded
commentary,
that the hash
sir.
value was unsigned, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. And you went on, did you not, in your report, to say that this hash value could be used as a suggestion of authentication, but cannot be guaranteed 100%, correct?
Correct.
Did you discuss any of that doubt, that suggestion of authentication but can't be guaranteed 100% at all in your direct testimony yesterday?
I didn't know.
And again, hash values are very important concepts for data forensic examiners, correct?
For integrity, yes.
But you didn't need any integrity?
Do you know the chain of custody of Jen McCabe's iPhone?
I don't know.
So you don't know the chain of custody of her iPhone. You have an unsigned hash value, and you can't guarantee the hash value authentication, correct?
No.
The objection's overruled.
Not from the hash value, no.
Do you understand what just happened? He cannot say that no one else has edited or touched that phone at all. No, she hasn't gone yet. I don't know. I've never met the woman.
Let's go back to the 22740 timestamp and the question of whether that timestamp is associated with a Google search, house long to die in the cold. You understand there is a dispute as to whether that
This
search
part.
was performed at 2:27:40 a.m. as the timestamp states, or whether that was performed later in the morning, say around 6:23 a.m., correct?
Correct.
You understand there's a dispute.
Yes.
Now, do you guys get
And
it?
you understand that the defense asserts that that timestamp means what it says. The Google search occurred at 2:27:40 a.m.
Of course you object, Hank.
Do you understand that?
I do.
I didn't hear your answer, sir.
I understand.
You understand that?
Yes.
So there are various data forensic tools, are there not, to evaluate what is called an artifact, this timestamp, correct?
Correct.
And those data forensic tools include Celebrite tools, your company's tools.
Yes.
And some of those Celebrite tools are called Physical Analyzer.
Correct.
And then you have another tool, I believe, called Insights.
Insights is a suite that includes Physical Analyzer.
Okay,
But yes,
so it's Insights, it's a
it's
suite.
essentially the same tool.
Essentially the same tool. So there's Insight, well, essentially, but they're two different tools, correct?
The two different versions of the same tool.
Thank you. Two different versions of the same tool.
Yes.
But there are other tools from other companies, are there not, sir?
There are.
And a competitor of Celebrite that can be used to analyze that 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp and to potentially resolve that dispute whether the Google search "how long to die in the cold" occurred at 2:27:40 a.m. or later at 6:23 or so a.m. There's other companies and tools that can be used for that, correct?
Correct.
I
And
agree,
isn't one of the
Randy.
companies that can
My
be
opinion
used
as well.
the competitor of Cellebrite called Magnet Forensics?
Correct.
And they have a tool called Axiom, AXIOM, that evaluates questions such as this, correct?
They do.
And is Magnet Forensics a reputable company?
They are.
Am I correct that yesterday you essentially said that as of today, no Cellebrite tool, no Insight suite such as Physical Analyzer, today shows that 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp?
Correct. If you use any version from the last approximately year, that timestamp won't show up.
It won't show up as you sit here today.
Correct.
But that's not always been the case
Correct.
with regard to Cellebrite forensic tools, correct?
Correct.
As a matter of fact, in the first proceeding in this case, in June of 2024, when you testified under oath, the situation with the forensic tools was Cellebrite Forensics Insights did not show the 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp, but another version of Physical Analyzer did show it, correct?
Correct.
And that second program, that second tool, Physical Analyzer, not only showed it at 2:27:40 a.m., but it showed it as a deleted state, correct?
It's a deleted record, yes.
A deleted record.
Yes.
Did you mention that yesterday in your direct testimony?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe so?
No, we changed it since then.
Exactly, you changed it since then.
Yes.
Your company removed it
Yes.
after the first trial.
Before the first trial.
Well, you removed it from one tool before the first trial, but you didn't remove it from the other Physical Analyzer program, did you?
How are
Up
you?
until the following version was released.
No, I'm talking about the time of trial when you were testifying.
I appreciate that. There's some complexities with how we released the software, which resulted in one being released several weeks later and one being released several weeks earlier.
At the time of trial,
Yes.
last year in June, when you were testifying under oath, one of the Cellebrite tools showed the timestamp of 2:27:40 a.m., correct?
Correct.
But that timestamp doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist today, does it?
Correct.
Cellebrite removed it.
Yes.
I'm doing okay, thank you.
All right,
You mentioned
could I see Counselor Sidebar for just a minute, please?
Please tell me you're doing that because you're ready to drop charges with prejudice because you know that this is just wrong. I would want to see Hank at sidebar too if we knew he had fibbed a report or knew of someone doing that. I'm sorry, Binksy. Go back asleep. I woke Binksy even though he was sleeping with his eyes open. I know, Stephanie. It is insane and it's sickening that to even consider the amount of hands in the cookie jar at this point. And the hands in the proverbial cookie jar. I don't know what the cookie jar is. Let's just go with corruption. And the amount of hands that could potentially be in this proverbial cookie jar of corruption and cover up and deceit is sickening. In my opinion only. Yeah, she's allowing this to go on. At least she hasn't stopped them from questioning him. You know, if it was 100% that way, she would have shut him down and told him not to say anything else. But found a way to do it without it looking obvious. Let's hope that's not what's happening here. This is outrageous. Yes, again.
Go ahead. ahead,
So-
Mr. Lassie.
Thank you, Your Honor. So with regard to the first proceeding, there was one Celebrite forensic tool that still showed the 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp,
Correct.
and it was shown in a deleted state.
The record was deleted, yes.
The record was deleted. And then after that, Celebrite outright removed the timestamp from, so none of its programs had it. Correct?
Again, if I could explain a little bit about how it works.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
If you could just respond to my question. Is that correct?
The timestamp's been removed, yes.
However, the competitor of Celebrite that we just talked about, Magnet Forensics Axiom,
Yes.
that program at the first proceeding showed the 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp, correct?
Correct.
And as a matter of fact, as you sit here today, the Magnet Forensics program, Axiom, still shows the 2:27:04 a.m. timestamp, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
And Magnet Forensics Axiom is a reputable company, correct?
Correct.
Mic drop.
Celebrite removed that 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp, which was in a deleted state, in response to issues raised in the first proceeding, correct?
It was changed because of the research that I did, and that was verified by the forensic research group.
But the issue arose because of what had come up in the first proceeding, correct?
In the first investigation prior to the proceeding, yes.
In the first investigation in this case, correct?
Yes.
Totally get that.
So Celebrite, after the first proceeding, after the investigation, just outright went and removed the timestamp.
It's not unusual to change
I
decoding.
didn't ask if it, I just asked whether
Yep,
they
we
were,
removed it.
but Magnet Forensic Axiom
Did
still
not.
shows that 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp, right?
Again, they refer to it differently, which is why they can
But they
do that.
still show.
They do still show it.
Can you just finish the answer?
So,
Sorry. Just let him finish the answer. Is that what you said, Mr. Bennett?
my apologies, but I'm having trouble hearing, but I'll pause more just to make sure you're done. In that 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp, the dispute is whether it's associated with the search "How Long to Die in the Cold," correct?
Correct.
Let's talk a little bit more about the first proceeding in this case.
I would move to have all charges dropped.
In terms of your testimony under oath in that first proceeding, do you recall stating that it was your opinion as to whether that 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp was associated or not with the Google search "How Long to Die in the Cold"?
No, one thing.
I believe so.
Right, so you called it your opinion.
She had been
Yeah,
drinking
you
while
didn't
driving.
Describe it
That's
as a
all.
fact, you described it as your opinion, correct?
Correct.
She hasn't come yet.
Because you realize that there are other fair interpretations of that timestamp and when the Google search occurred, correct?
I think even if I believe it's a
In
fact, it's my opinion.
yes.
Right, so it's your opinion.
Yes.
So, you also, do you recall stating that there's plenty of other evidence on that extraction that shows what activity was occurring at 2:27:40? You recall that?
Correct.
And you used the word evidence, correct?
Correct.
But that evidence on the Celebrate program is now gone, correct?
No,
It's not gone?
it's not gone.
So the 2:27:40 timestamp still exists in Celebrate programs?
Sorry, are we talking about the additional evidence that shows what happened at 22740?
No, I'm just asking whether,
Okay.
I thought we had that clear, but I thought, is the 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp show up on any Celebrate program as you sit here today?
The decoded value does not show a timestamp for
Thank you.
that artifact.
I don't know how John O'Keefe's family could sit there and
Sir,
be okay with this at this
Does
point.
your work include shaping how examiners will see the data when they open it?
Yes.
So you shape how the data is going to be, correct?
Yes, we have
Yes.
ways to create the data so it's usable. Yes.
So the answer
shape
is
it.
yes,
Yes.
you shape the data.
Yes.
These
They should also be placed in handcuffs, in my opinion.
various forensic tools, Celebrite, Insight Suite, including Physical Analyzer, Magnetophoretic Forensics Axiom.
Either way, Parker.
These are all tools, and we know that no one
You get a
has
timestamp for
access
both.
to the Apple source code on iPhones, correct?
Correct.
And the best source of information about what may be happening inside of an Apple iPhone would be if one could get the source code and look into the source codes to see what's actually happening, correct?
Correct.
So what happens is, in data forensics, because Apple considers it proprietary and people can't access the source code, there's these various data forensic tools that in some ways try to serve as a surrogate, given the fact that there's no access to source code, correct?
Correct. That's fair.
So the best information would come from the Apple source code, but nobody has access to that, or few people do. Therefore, these other forensic tools are used.
Correct.
So sometimes examiners have to give opinions, like you give, because you don't have access to the source code, correct?
Correct.
So it's your opinion, oftentimes, with regard to ultimate conclusion.
Based on research and testing. But yes, it's an
Not
opinion.
100% absolute certainty, because you don't have access to the source code, correct?
Correct.
I can't believe that we're actually watching this continue to happen. Oh, we had our gift go. Whoever sent the other cat gifts, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm
You
sorry.
have a moment, Your Honor, to switch topics, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
He's getting pissed. His face looks pissed. He looks really, really mad. Thank you, Julie. Binksy says thank you.
Before I do switch topics, a couple points on the 22740 timestamp, if I may, Mr. Whiffen. The Google search in question associated with that timestamp, the dispute over that, is house long to die in the cold, correct?
Correct.
And you understand, sir, do you understand the significance if Jen McCabe made that Google search, house long to die in the cold, at 2:27:40 a.m. instead of 6:23 a.m.? Do you understand the significance of that?
Of course.
Sustained.
He said yes, Your Honor.
I'm sorry? I said sustained.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. I didn't hear that.
Jury,
I-
strike any answer that may have come.
I didn't know that anyone even
What do
object,
you
ma'am.
understand to be the significance of
Thank you,
the
JK.
dispute over 22740 timestamp?
Sustained.
I heard the objection that time.
Mr. Whiffen, with regard to the
Oh, yeah, I did.
22740
Thank
a.m. timestamp, have you looked at any
Thank you.
forensic tools to answer that question other than Celebrite tools and your tool Ardex?
I've used Axiom as well.
So you
Thank
used
you.
Axiom, and so did you therefore
Nice
see that 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp still appeared?
Yes.
Did you discuss that with the jury yesterday, that you analyzed the Axiom program and that 2:27:40 a.m. timestamp still appears?
I didn't. No,
You did not.
I did not.
This is, in my opinion, a gross, underhanded way of manipulating.
Could we
Our
please,
judicial system.
with
And
the court's permission,
it's
put
scary
the PowerPoint
as hell.
presentation back
You're
up
right.
and go to deck 26.
The fact is if she didn't have these lawyers, she would more than likely end up in prison. So if everyday people like myself can't afford a team full of hotshot lawyers,
Mr. Whiffen,
I'd be in prison.
does an iPhone discriminate between whether it's in a car, a bus, a bicycle, or walking?
It can, but I don't have the research on that.
Right. So as you sit here today, you can't say that an iPhone can tell the difference between a car, bus, bicycle, or walking, correct?
The iPhone can, but I don't. Well, I haven't researched that data fully
Yes or no,
enough
sir?
to understand it forensically.
So you as
I
you sit here,
can't, but
you
the phone
can't.
can.
Does an iPhone merely register
I'm not sure,
movement?
sugar. I can't look because I'm on the
Let me
virtual
rephrase
jury.
that. Does an iPhone register movement?
It does.
Do you recall yesterday
No, it
discussing
shouldn't, Monica.
movement at a speed of about 1.4
Do you want me to
miles?
tell you why? Because then it can't be used to lock up the people that manipulate it to begin with. And that clearly needs to be done. To prove that they did this and then to punish them the way they're trying to put a woman in jail for something she appears to be innocent of.
Per hour at
Long crime.
12:24:37
And
a.m.
court TV.
Yes.
January 29th, 2022.
I do.
A person walking at a normal to even a slow pace can walk at approximately 1.4 miles per hour. Is
I
that
agree,
correct?
Crystal.
It sounds reasonable.
And does it sound reasonable that a normal speed of walking is between 2 and 4 miles per hour?
Reasonable.
I want to know how nobody else has burst in the courtroom doors to take her off the stand.
Switching
And arrest all of
topics, Your Honor, if I could have a moment.
I just don't understand.
You can take that. Okay, thank you.
This is going to be made into a major movie and it's going to do very well. This is 2 trials in a row that are monumental and you see stuff as big as this. It's like we're watching a movie instead of watching a trial. But this woman's life is in their hands. Why are they trying to pin this on her? Welcome back, Holly. You're back just in time. We found out a whole bunch. He manipulated the report, took out the time that
When you were
Jen
examining
searched that stuff.
Jennifer McCabe's phone, you used an operating system called iOS 14, correct?
That's one of the versions of iOS I used, yes.
That was one of the versions.
Yes.
Do you understand that Jen McCabe's phone was actually using iOS version 15?
Yes, I do. 15.2.1.
So she was
15.2?
2.1.
using a
Thank
version
you.
above your software.
And do you recall saying, with regard to iOS 15.1, etc., that the iOS operating system, your words, had fundamentally changed, correct?
Correct.
That's right, Catnip. And they have proof that somebody did go into that phone, but they didn't put anything in to say who did it.
Now, with regard to
His cell phone.
we're back to
Well,
Jen McCabe's
both of them,
phone.
yeah.
We're back to
Jen's
2740.
now.
The issue of deletions. You stated yesterday that deletion occurred after January 31 of 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
Remember?
But you couldn't determine how that deletion occurred with certainty, correct?
Correct.
And
They're
you
doing
gave
it over again.
3
Listen.
possibilities that you analyzed, correct?
3 or 4, yes.
3 or 4. And one of them was deleted by user, correct?
Correct.
Another one was that the search occurred but never loaded.
That would be the reason that there was no data found in the history.db file.
But that was another of the 3 or 4 reasons, correct?
That wouldn't cause the deletion of the record
Right,
necessarily.
Right. And then
They're re-saying it, Holly.
you discussed those possibilities, but you can't state with certainty how that deletion occurred, can you?
Correct.
You have doubts about how it occurred, is that fair?
Yeah, I have an idea how it occurred, but I can't prove it.
I'm sorry. I didn't,
Yeah, no, it's okay.
No, please finish. I want to make sure you finish.
I have an idea of how it occurred, but I've not been able to replicate it, so my idea is unsubstantiated.
So, is it fair to say you have some doubt
Yes.
about how the deletion occurs?
That's fair.
And you believe your doubt is reasonable
Yes.
under the circumstances?
Yes.
To be crystal clear, the deletion they're talking about is the time that Jen McCabe typed in "house long to die in the cold." I believe that was the exact wording. If not, I'm close. That's what they're talking about because it was deleted. It's much different now. It's like a "hi, got you" kind of tone. Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, that is the extent of my questions of the witness at this time.
Okay. Mr. Brennan?
Oh
Thank
God, it's the state's turn. Everybody run. No, this was the Celebrate expert. And he's been on since yesterday. What's wrong, baby? You're okay. Ian Whiffen is his name. Make yourself look like the fool you are, sir, in my opinion. Hank. Oh, hell yeah, mic drop moment.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As a forensic analyst, do you study data?
I do.
Do you consider it a science?
I do.
Are you a criminal investigator like a police officer in your present role?
Not anymore.
Are you a detective in your present role
He used
helping
to be?
aid one side or another in an investigation?
I'm not, no.
At some point, you and I spoke about reviewing phones.
We did.
You had begun your whole process.
Hold the hell on. They glossed over that really quickly. He asked if he was law enforcement, and what was his answer? Not anymore.
And some of this work before you had met me.
Thank
Correct.
you, Audra.
And I'd ask you to look at Mr.
He said not
O'Keefe's
anymore
phone.
earlier. Well, I missed
Correct.
it.
Did I ever tell you what you should look for?
No.
Did I ever tell you what I wanted to see or what I wanted the results to be?
No.
Did I ever share with you parts of the investigation that had nothing to do with your actual data analysis?
No.
Would it be inappropriate or not helpful for an advocate to provide you information that might taint or influence your thinking when you're looking at data in a case?
Objection, Your Honor.
Objection, Hank.
100% it would be problematic.
When I asked you to look at data in this case, did I ever express any opinion whatsoever that I cared, one way or another, what your results would find?
No.
Did I ever attempt to shape or influence your process by offering you information that had nothing to do with your assessment of data?
No.
What was
And
the
so
name of
as
that
a
special hearing they
scientist,
had
what
yesterday?
a legal investigator or an advocate for either side thinks, is that relevant to you?
No.
The data is the data?
The data is the data. I can explain my opinions on the data.
The science is the science?
The science is the science.
That's sustained. Watch the form.
Now, counsel showed you some parts of your report regarding John O'Keefe's cell phone, didn't he?
Yes.
You saw select pages from that report,
Correct.
a few pages you were asked about,
Yes.
but you wrote an entire report, didn't you?
I did.
And do you think that
He's
your
trying to make us
entire
forget what he said.
report puts into perspective some of those select pages that you were shown?
Definitely, yes.
Now I move to introduce Mr. Whiffen's entire report.
May we approach us?
Okay.
Another sidebar, this time called by the defense. Rightfully so. I cannot believe that no one's walked into that courtroom that would be above the judge to take her off the stand and arrest the prosecutor or something. Sorry, I'm getting Binks's hair in my face because I'm petting him and he's stressed. So it's flaring in my face, so I have to keep scratching my face. But anyways, how in the hell did they even get this case to go on trial in the first place? Because no, Hank requested to have the full report added, which probably means he's going to sit here and make us listen to the full report to make us try to forget what we had already learned, because he's just that much of an asshat. That's a sticker I need to make, asshat. She really does. Like, who? How did the grand jury even okay this? I don't understand how the grand jury signed off on this happening. Makes you wonder how high up the corruption could have gone in this case. And that's all in my opinion, of course. They must be getting mad because they turned the sound completely off. We don't even hear the beeping. Well, I wonder if the grand jury is going to stroll in any time and yank that prosecutor out of the courtroom with silver bracelets on. Right, Crystal? Let's hope not. Oh,
Do you still have your
going
report
to.
with you, Mr. Whiffen?
I do, yes.
Okay.
I hope
Let's
you all have
start
coffee.
with questions that counsel asked you about the battery. When you were trying to determine how the battery worked, you shared with the jury that you did certain testing.
Correct.
What was the purpose of that testing?
To make sure that the battery temperature sensor would be affected by environmental temperatures, such as being in the freezer, such as being outside, being brought back indoors, and to make sure that the fall and rise of the temperature sensor, at least the pattern would match the expected pattern and would match the thermometer that was alongside it.
Really, sir?
When you put the batteries of the phone in the freezers, did it matter what the temperature of the freezer was when you put it in it?
I didn't believe it did.
What was the purpose again of putting it in the freezer?
Just to remove the device from a warm environment, which was outside of the freezer, placing it inside the cold environment of the freezer and just seeing how the temperature dropped.
As you mentioned, you look at data through science, correct?
Correct.
And so, did anybody ever share with you the important points of the decrease in temperature of the cell phone battery to try to influence your results?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, could you
Did
rephrase?
anybody try to tell you important points of the evening on January 29th, 2022 in an attempt to influence your studies on the fact that a battery or a phone, when it gets colder, the battery temperature decreases?
No.
So when you developed the graph of
We're
the
going to
battery
take your word
temperature,
for it.
and you followed the progress of that temperature declining through the night, was there any other
Right, Parker?
scope or focus of yours other than to simply track the data?
Just tracking the data.
Similarly, when you looked at healthcare data, were you asked to try to see if the healthcare data could fit a certain theory or argument?
No, I was not.
You were looking at the healthcare data, were you looking at it independently?
I was.
Now, it's not your opinion, or you're not taking a position what the meaning of that data matching up is, are you?
No.
No one's asked you to give an opinion about the coordination of data, have they?
No.
So if the data just coordinates on its own, that has nothing to do with your opinion.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain it as.
You mentioned when you put a cell phone in a colder environment, like a freezer, you noted that the temperature goes down.
Correct.
Do your studies also show that when the cell phone is taken out of a certain temperature and put in an increased temperature, the cell phone battery temperature goes up?
It does.
Do you have
I need
available
coffee.
for the screen the battery graph that we had on your PowerPoint?
I do. 2 seconds.
Oh, God, he's pulling out the PowerPoints. He wants to torture us. This isn't going to make us forget. Nope, it's going to make us pissed. And hopefully that jury right along with us.
If
Yes,
you could go back
they were
one
senior
to where
first responder
it's
to
the
hot
chart,
cold.
please. And if you could enlarge it, we'll start near the top.
Oh, he did. But it's apparently Groundhog Day, so we're
2
repeating
seconds.
everything. Somebody send coffee, please.
Okay. At 12:20:43 on January 28, 2023, the battery temperature is 77 degrees.
I'm sorry, that's 8:43 p.m.
That's
Sorry.
8:43 p.m.
Yes, the first record.
77 degrees.
Yes.
There's no way to get
And
it
if we
there.
look down to the last box on January 28, 2023.
Yes.
Being
So
so
at
close his
23:28,
eyes.
that's 12:23:28.
Objection, Your Honor. With your approach, please.
Okay.
Another sidebar. Does anyone have any idea why my cat would not close his eyes? He hasn't closed his eyes since he's been home. And I legit thought he was sleeping. I'm looking at him in the mirror that I have sitting in front of me. His eyes are wide open. I'm wondering if he woke up and he still had eye glue on his eyes during surgery, and now he's traumatized. Yes. There's still a little bit of glue above his eyes. I couldn't get it off. It's not connected though. It's just stuck to his hair. It's literally like he's afraid to fall asleep. He's purring. I really just want to take the cone off of him. I just...
I'm going to ask.
Oh, he's medicated, too.
Mr. Whitman, I'm going to ask you to start at 12:13 on January 29th, 2022. Battery temperature 82 degrees.
Yes.
And now you were also tracking healthcare data, weren't you?
Correct.
You were also tracking location information.
Correct.
At 12:22, the battery temperature is 77 degrees Fahrenheit.
Correct.
And during that time, 12:22, that is the time with the location data where we see Mr. O'Keefe's car traveling near Cedarbrook, isn't it?
The form sustained.
And at
Should I just take
12:22,
it off?
on January 29, 2022, where does the location data show Mr. O'Keefe's phone in progress?
It's around Oakdale Road, I believe.
And the travel that you're noting, is that consistent given the speed of being within a car?
I believe so.
And do you know whether or not that car had heat on?
I've got no idea.
You have healthcare data that the phone moves for a 20-second period, right?
I believe so,
And
yes.
That is after the Waze information stops.
Correct.
So you have to watch the form. I know it's hard to orient. You have to watch.
He's
In your
literally just
PowerPoint
staring off into
presentation, you
space.
are tracking the Waze information, aren't you?
I am, yes.
And at some point that switches to more local location data?
Again, Waze is not recording the location data. Waze is requesting location data from Apple's location services, and location services is doing the recording of the location data.
So if we're following the phone through Waze, at 12:24:25, is it in the car moving at 16.6 miles per hour?
According to the data, yes.
Do prosecutors get paid by the
At
hour?
12:24:26, according to the data, is it still in a car moving at 17 miles per hour?
Stained as to forms.
Can you pull up your PowerPoint and we'll start at 12:24:25? We can show the jury.
No
the
wonder
progress
he
of
won't
that
shut
phone.
up.
Okay. And at 12:24:25, how fast is Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone moving?
The data on the device says that it was moving at around 16.6 miles per hour.
Next page, 24:26.
17 miles per hour.
Next page, 24:27.
15.9 miles per hour.
Next page, 24:28.
14.5 miles per hour.
24:29.
12.1 miles per hour.
24:30.
11.5 miles per hour.
24:31.
10.4 miles per hour.
24:32.
8.9 miles per hour.
24:33.
7 miles per hour.
24:34.
5.2 miles per hour.
24:35.
3.5 miles per hour.
24:36.
3.2 miles per hour.
24:37.
1.4 miles per hour.
And 24:38.
0 miles per hour or 0 meters per second.
And at 24:38, that phone is stopped near the flagpole.
I would say so, yes.
Hold on, Binksy. Mommy's
Then the
gotta do the
location
puzzle
data gets
piece.
more broad.
It does.
Come on.
There is no movement at that time after the car stops. Is there any
No, it's
movement?
not, Kay. We're a little bit behind.
When the car stops at 24:38, between 24:38 and 24:30, is there any movement indicated on the healthcare data?
Not from the health data, no.
At at 12:31:57, does the phone demonstrate any movement?
If I may just look back at my report, just to recall.
Maybe they do, we don't know yet. Go to sleep, Nipsey. Almost there. You're not going anywhere, okay?
What time was that, sorry?
12:31:57.
Yeah, he's stressed. I have cat hair all over me. He's not a big shedder, but it's all over me.
Yes, around 12:31:56 or 57 is the start of the health event, 36 steps.
How long? How many seconds does that phone move for?
Uh, 20 seconds.
Does this witness
12:31:56 to 12.
Does this witness hold credibility to anyone in this room? If yes, please say yes. You won't be. I'm just honestly, I just want to know. My opinion? No, my opinion is that not guilty. They need to drop charges with precedence, and she needs to sue the hell out of them. If anybody says yes, you will not get picked on or anything. We don't do that in here. We're too old for that. We're too tired. So nobody in here thinks that this witness holds any credibility anymore. Correct? If anybody feels that, please let me know. I really would love to talk to somebody that does.
32:16.
Correct.
And is that the only time that the phone moves from the point it stops at the flagpole until the next morning?
Correct.
The only time.
Correct.
12:31:56 to 12:32:16.
Yes.
And when that phone moves, you can't tell if it's walking a straight line or in a circle.
Correct.
You don't know if the phone is pacing back and forth.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained as to form.
Can you tell how far a phone moves from its origin, from its original point when you're counting steps?
No. iOS creates the calculation, number of steps times the person's gait, and provides the 25.4 meters value.
At 12:32:16,
No, she hasn't.
when that phone stops
It's
moving,
been
John
here since
O'Keefe's phone
yesterday.
stops moving. Do you know the next time it moves again?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow it.
It's approximately 6:15.
Now, less than 5 minutes later, 12:37, that battery in that cell phone gets another temperature reading,
You're welcome.
doesn't it?
It does.
Does it go up?
It goes down.
And it
It's
goes down
just
to
a
what
screen,
degrees?
baby.
72 degrees.
And over the next 8 minutes, does that temperature even or go up?
At 43 minutes past, there was another reading of 66 Fahrenheit.
And then at 12:53, that's about, 21 minutes or so after that phone stops moving? What's the temperature?
I'm sorry, at 12:53?
Yes.
Oh, 61 Fahrenheit.
61 degrees?
Yes.
And over the next 14 minutes, does it drop again?
It does. It drops to 55 degrees at 107.
And at one,
The summary I can give you is very brief because we're watching this as a virtual jury. So the only background I have in this is that she's on trial for unaliving her boyfriend. But I have all the lives before today on my YouTube channel. If you want to check those out, you can. It's under the same name, Michelle's Criminal Musing. The link is in the bio.
36
Wow,
a.m. that
man.
morning.
It's down to 50 degrees.
And this health data shows that
Oh,
phone
nay, honey.
hasn't moved.
It's okay.
Does this healthcare data show that this phone hasn't moved since
There's
12/32/16.
no more steps were recorded.
Now, you had studies where you put the phone in a freezer.
Correct.
When you put the phone in the freezer, did you wrap it in anything?
I didn't know.
Did you use any type of heat source that would slow down the process of the temperature dropping?
No.
Let me ask you a hypothetical.
You're welcome.
If a person, a human, was lying prone on a cell phone outside and had a body temperature directly touching the phone, in your opinion, could that slow the process of the temperature decreasing as compared to just simply putting a phone in a freezer?
Sustained.
When you put the phone in the freezer, did you wrap it in any warmth?
No.
Any clothing?
Nothing at all.
That would defeat the purpose, sir. I mean, Hank.
Now, you don't know the temperature, but you said there was a blizzard outside?
That's my understanding, yes.
At 6:06 a.m., is there a change in the battery temperature of John O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, the temperature has dropped to 43 degrees Fahrenheit.
So there's a 7-degree drop in temperature at 6:06.
Correct.
Were you shared any of the facts or information that has nothing to do with data and science? Were you shared any facts or information about what may have occurred to that cell phone and its exposure to colder air that morning, minutes prior to 6:06 a.m.?
I may have heard that around that time is when John was found.
So could you answer the question, yes or no, that Mr. Brennan asked you? Did anybody share information with you about that, sir?
Nobody shared it with me, no.
If the phone was in an environment and it was exposed to further colder air or drop in temperature, could it register a reading?
I'm sorry, can you just ask that again?
Sure. Let me ask a different question. The phone drops to 43 degrees, John's phone at 6:06. 6:14, is there another change with this phone dropping in temperature?
Yes, it drops to 37 Fahrenheit.
Do you know what, if anything, happened as far as the environment that phone was exposed to seconds before 6:14?
I don't know.
Do you know if that phone at 6:15:01 was then placed in a warmer environment like a pocket or a car? Do you
I
know?
have no idea.
But your data shows at 6:35 there's an increase in temperature,
Correct.
doesn't it?
It does.
So at 6:14 you don't know if
I
there's
can't
been
remember when you left.
any increased exposure, do you?
No, I know that according to the battery temperature, it's increased, but I don't know the reason for that.
To be abundantly clear, I thought she was guilty going into this. And that was a preconceived judgment on my part. I shouldn't have done, but my conscience, I had thoughts. I looked at her, and for some reason, I thought she was guilty. The reason I think she's innocent, well, I took 5 pages of notes on the first day, and 3 people had perjured themselves in the past few days. They've perjured themselves, not once but twice. And those witnesses were prosecution's witnesses. Nothing on here says that she did it. The video recording of her outside in front of the police car while he was given CPR, and the EMT said that she said, I hit him. That wasn't picked up, but everything else she was saying was picked up. That's just some of the reasons.
Now, if you look at the battery temperature at 6:06 a.m., it's 43 degrees.
Yes.
That's a change in temperature, isn't it? Is that a change in temperature from 136?
It is.
Looking at your healthcare data, is there something happening relative to the phone at 6:04 to
You
6:11?
really think so? It's honestly, it is 100% honestly the first time that I've ever even taken this kind of a stance on a case. Never have I ever covered another case to even take this stance. This is very, very weird for me. Very weird. Welcome back.
There is, that is, 432 steps were recorded at that time.
Can a phone record steps if it's being moved back and forth?
It may record some. It's difficult to say how many would be misunderstood as being steps taken.
If you're shaking an object that moves the phone violently, could it record steps?
This guy?
Again, potentially it could record some, but it's not a consistent enough pattern of movement for it to be recorded as lots of steps.
The same guy who just a little bit ago admitted that he deleted, someone in their company deleted the time that Jen McCabe had searched how long to freeze or whatever the saying was. The same guy who's on a first name basis with the prosecutor. I'm just telling you the facts as to why I'm leaning that way now. Actually, I'm not just leaning there, I'm fully there.
Now at 6:14, the temperature is 37 degrees, and you just offered us that by 6:35, over the next 21 minutes, the degrees goes up by 6 degrees.
Correct.
You don't know what was happening with that phone at 6:15:01, do you?
I don't.
Do you know?
I don't know. No.
Next question.
But what you do know is this healthcare data at 6:15:14.
Thank you for sharing.
Correct.
And that demonstrates what?
At 6:15:14, it was the start of 180 steps.
So the phone at 6:15:14 is again moving.
Correct.
And after that starts moving wherever the phone may go, it starts getting warmer temperature.
Correct.
Now you shared with us location data and you explained the difference between Waze and other types of location data. I had asked you an opinion about where the phone was located based just on location data, nothing else. And when I asked you that opinion, I didn't ask you to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, did I?
I don't recall.
I asked you if it was consistent
Yes.
with being near the flagpole the entire night.
Sustained.
Based on location data alone,
Still the same guy today.
are you offering an
and
opinion to a
yesterday.
reasonable degree of scientific certainty where that phone was?
It's difficult to say with a reasonable degree of certainty based on the randomness of the location data.
I agree with
I'm
both
going
of
to
you.
ask you to keep your voice up, Mr. Whiffen. Could we turn the AC off, please? Thank you.
No, it's difficult to give an answer based to a high degree of scientific certainty based on the sporadic nature of the records that night.
Based on the data you have, just on location data alone, is that location data consistent with that phone being near the flagpole area from midnight until 6:15 the next morning?
This
It
day,
is,
yes.
yes.
There's also information because the broadness that it could have been somewhere else.
Correct.
Yet it is consistent.
It is.
You didn't just rely on location data for your opinion, though.
I didn't know.
Watch the form, Mr. Brennan.
Yeah.
Sustained.
Did you rely just on location data for your opinion?
No, I didn't know.
Did you also
If you guys are wondering what the objection is for, it's because he's saying So it's not that, is it? He's implying.
Consider the health data?
I did.
And did you also consider the battery temperature?
Thank you for the follow, Brandy.
Sustained.
In addition to location data, what are the other things you considered, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, that that phone was at the flagpole the entire night from 12:30 until 6 the next morning?
Welcome.
I'm going to allow that.
It was based on the location data that recorded high accuracy, based on the health data that showed when the device moved and how far, based on the battery temperature information, and based.
If you guys don't like what you hear, it's simple. Scroll up or down. It's really actually quite easy. You don't have to report a live. We could all be adults.
On the Doppler face detection information.
Let me ask you some more questions about the health data. You were shown pieces of information on examination. You told us that that health data, well, the phone was...
You mean the health data that he said isn't actually physical health data that you keep calling health data? Because, yeah.
Was it your opinion the phone was in the car until it stopped at the flagpole?
Sustained.
Everything that he is saying is on his opinion, and he cannot say without certainty. That is the part that initially had me. For him, for this witness. Exactly. That's what we're saying, Kelly, is I don't see how that could happen either. But in my opinion, it says here, Ian Whiffen, Celebrate expert witness. But it's just opinion evidence that we already know. I'm going to have to reset you guys. That we already know was manipulated. You guys, if you're not following me, drop me a follow. I'm going to have to reset the live because people can't be adults. I'll wait exactly 5 minutes to restart it. I'm going to start it and then I'll wait for y'all to get back for 5 minutes.